Hey peeps, welcome to another video. This video was requested and voted on over on my Instagram story poll, and I'm excited to share it with you. As many of you know, I'm an artist on the side, so being able to do artsy videos like this for you that can apply to your planners is so exciting for me. I'm planning on posting the left page as a separate close-up photo to Instagram sometime this month, so if this video isn't your cup of tea or coffee, whichever you prefer, you can keep an eye out on my Instagram for the step-by-step drawing photo later on. It's meant to show the black and white version, but by all means color them in. They're super fun to color differently. Getting into the tutorial part, I tried to go as slow as I could and as clearly as I could. If you have any questions, please comment down below and I will do my best to answer them over text. It's a lot harder than I thought to put my process into words, so hopefully it's as clear as possible for you guys. I do each one a little bit differently stepwise every time I draw them, but the left page had the general steps I take in a more organized fashion. The first one I made is a general scallop or something? Shell. It's simpler than it looks, just two angled lines, a wiggly line on top, two little bumps at the bottom, and some lines if you want to go the black and white route. I'll elaborate on that a little bit later though. The next shell is a squat, swirly spiral shell. Yes, that's the scientific term for this shell, obviously. This one is a little harder, but we can push through it, I promise. I start with almost a sideways petal shape with a curved line toward the right of it. This will be the entrance to the shell and the hole leading inside. Then continuing the line up, you will just make layers of wavy lines that eventually come to a point whenever you decide your shell is cute enough. Think of it like a swirled ice cream cone or a tiered cake. Cake. And when you have your desired height, top it off with a little bit of a point at the top. And you're done. That's all that shell is. The third shell is the easiest of them all. It reminds me of a snail shell, actually. All you need is a swirl with a longer tail, and you can start either at the longer end and go into the little swirl, or you can start with the little swirl and go to the outside longer tail of it. I usually start from the inside and go out, but to each their own. You can do either way, it works just the same. Another swirly shell that's a little bit more dramatic. I don't show the sketching process, but this one I highly recommend sketching first. Unless you're brave, then go ahead. I am not brave. I start with the same entrance, only toward the right as the squat shell above it, but with one layer of the shell that wraps around to the bottom part of the entrance itself. Then with a pencil, I'd usually draw a narrow long triangle to help guide my swirls going up. Since it is a skinnier and longer shell, the guidelines are always nice to have. Each shell I've drawn of these versions has turned out a little bit differently, some wonkier than others, but they all look super cute once they're all done. Trust the process, go with it, who cares if they don't look super perfect, right? Anyway, once you have the triangle shape you want going from the first layer up, create those swirled layers. I've never tried it with straight tapering before, but I think that would work well too. Even just a straight line for the triangle with curved lines on the inside is an option. Take your time, there's no need to rush these. I sketch out everything before I use a pen, so don't be afraid of pencil. The next shell is simple and was actually one of the first I taught myself to draw years ago. So start with a rounded V shape, connect the top, add 3 what I call take tiers to the top, and add one little point at the top of those. This shell would probably look good without the side curve of the shell as well, so that's optional actually, but I like adding it for depth. So for that little entrance part of the shell, just draw a parallel line to the base of the shell and connect it at the top of the base, just before the cake tiers. If I add this part, I usually shade it in darker since it's technically inside the shell, but you can draw your little shell however you want. And a cute little starfish to bring this tutorial to a close. Another one to sketch out first in my opinion, even though starfishes have no bones. I think. They don't seem to be the type to have bones. Anyways, I start with a dot and 5 lines going out from the middle of it for the arms. Then draw the shape of your starfish going around those lines and giving the middle a bit of room so the starfish can have organs. Or whatever starfish have. They're probably hiding sprinkles in there, and I'm so jealous. But yeah, going around those lines should give your starfish a thicker look with thicker legs and a bit of a middle section. And ta-da, you have a starfish. It's basically just a loose drawn star. But remember, starfish are flexible, so if your legs are not super straight, it's just moving around. It's doing its starfish thing. Okay, I know coloring shouldn't be a part of this tutorial, but I figured I'd show you how I color these in anyway. This is exactly how I colored them in my July Plan With Me video for 2018. If you haven't seen it already, go check it out. With each shell, I outline everything in the color I'm using. That's just my personal preference. And then I do more detailed stuff inside the lines. Coming back to the scallop, if you want the plain black and white look, like I was mentioning before, simple lines going from above the bumps at the bottom toward the top, aiming between the little bumps at the top, will give a nice ridged look. But doing the same with a color from top to bottom will give the same effect. Making lines going with the curves of the shells will make them three-dimensional and not so flat looking. The spirally shells, I do either parallel lines or vertical lines. Either looks good in my opinion, and it's a good way to have some variety if you draw a bunch of them together. The starfish I go kind of fancy on, but by all means, any of you can color any of these things straight in with one color and they would still look fabulous. From the center of the starfish, I do a line of dots to represent the little ridges at the tops of their legs on real starfish, to the tips of each arm and each curve between the legs. So I guess those are his armpits, I think. And optional, I will sometimes extend the shadow in the armpit areas between the arms toward the center dot to make it look more 3D and give it some depth. It makes it look like the middle of the starfish is higher than the surface it's laying on. Finish it off with some sandy color around each of the shells with some dots and you're good to go. Obviously, the coloring is optional. You don't have to follow the same thing I do, but I know I'm probably going to get questions on it, so that's why I filmed it and that's why I showed it and gave a little bit of explanation, so in case any of you want to try coloring it like I do, now you have a little guide for it. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I haven't done many tutorials like this, so I apologize if it wasn't the clearest. I'll be learning from this for when I make more in the future. For more videos, hit that subscribe button and a little bell next to it for notifications for when I upload videos. Go follow my Instagram at Haley Journals for close-up photos and fun Instagram story shenanigans. Also, if you want notifications for when I post there, turn on my post notifications. And click the like button on this video if you did to help me figure out which videos you liked better. I'll see you in the next video, peeps. Bye!